welcome to Dear Dana. I'm so happy to have you all here tonight. And tonight we are going to talk about a quite serious case. I'm sure that you all have heard about it by now, and it's still going on. We're talking about the Gabrielle. Hello, Ian Howe. We're talking about Gabrielle, but mainly Brian Laundrie, with the Gabrielle Petito case and the Brian Laundrie. Sorry, I'm mispronouncing it. Brian Laundrie. Unfortunately, it has been confirmed that Gabrielle Petito is a homicide. Maybe please, whatever your spiritual beliefs are, have a moment of silence and prayer for her soul and her family and all those that love her. She is a shining light still on this earth, and all that she stands for shall carry on. And I'm sure she is shining around us all now for all that she wanted to stand for. But as it stands now, the search is still on for Brian Laundrie. And I have a few theories on my own. We will talk about the case itself and how quickly things can flip. It's so very unfortunate. Hello, Shelly Marie. Hello, Lynette Kitten Scott. Please tell me what you would rather be called by. Would you rather be called by Kitten or Lynette? Hello, Vintage Optimism. Hello, Shoeless One. Hello, Steve. And everybody that shall join us. I am so glad that you all are in the community. Per usual, I do my whole thing, my prayer, and I call upon the light and our angels and everything else before I enter here, and make sure my space is filled with light. I'm surrounded by light, and I feel it full of light here. And it's always my intention that you leave feeling better than when you came, even if this is a serious topic. I always want that for you, even if it's a serious topic. Yeah? I want to know how all of you are doing as well. Breathe in and breathe out. We are at hump day. Hump day. Breathe in, kitten. Okay, good. Inhale through your nose and hold it and exhale. Inhale through your nose to the count of 4. Hold it. Let's see if we can all get a connection, a good vibe in this room, and maybe we can get our brains together and come up with something ourselves about Brian. Don't let it affect us and our energy personally if we can help it. And also shed our light around Gabby and her family. I know our family's going through, and some of you probably do too. Okay. And again, welcome to Dear Dana. Please hit that like button and subscribe if you're new here or you're hiding in the bushes. I appreciate every one of you. Before we get started, I'm going to go ahead and hit the intro while we're waiting for everybody to fall through and fall in. Thank you once again for being here. And let me drop it. Drop it like it's hot. Okay, we are talking about Gabrielle Petito, and we are speaking about what's going on now on the search for Brian Laundrie. You know, I find it rather odd that of course, it's odd that he came home and stayed a few days before the police even knew he was already out and on a hike, right? But I really found it odd. Hey, C. Cruz and Vicky. Oh, love to you too. Thank you, Vicky, for the love and support. Yeah, thank you for the love and support. Um, Boops like on the way out, if you don't mind. Thank you so much. But hey, C. Cruz, always happy to see you here. Do you all recall or know that on their journey, and we'll probably be all over the place with this, and I've pulled up a few things to look at as well. On the journey, a week before all this occurred, Brian went home to help his dad move some stuff. And when he did that, this is what stumps my mind. He moved Gabby's stuff out of the home and moved it into storage. Now, that's what stumps my mind. He moved Gabby's stuff into storage. He left her in a hotel for a week. And in that week, she talked to her dad and said she didn't have good Wi-Fi in the hotel she was at, where it was located. And the dad uh, set it up where she could get a Domino's pizza, he said, and had it sent to her hotel. So she was in the hotel for a week, and apparently either Gabby didn't know or which it sounds like she didn't know. So he was moving all her stuff out into storage. The family still does not know where the stuff is, where Gabby's stuff is, which I find really odd. That just baffles me. That's what I was thinking. You know, at first I wanted to think, well, they probably got in a fight and it wasn't premeditated unless they were planning to break up. But if you hear the earlier story, he really liked Gabby in high school. And she, from what you hear from old friends, he wasn't kind of her style. He was more like a friend that she didn't really want to date. So when they got out of school, she gave him a chance and they dated. So they really have only been dating in the last year and only recently got engaged. But then it came up from a friend that I think it was more on her part that she felt it was kind of fast that they got engaged and decided to end it and just date. They decided just to date. And I'm feeling like he had issue deep down with that. Because from what his friend said, and primarily with what her friend Rose said, he did not want her to have friends and he was very possessive. She was supposed to go to a party or to a club or somewhere with Rose. Hey, Adam Harris. And what was it that he did? Something about taking her ID so she couldn't get in the club. He was very possessive and jealous of her. And I feel like that has a lot to do with her not wanting to date him in high school. I feel like that in a lot of ways, she was out of his league, so to speak. If you want to believe in the out of the league thing. Hello, Tammy, Comic California Living and Lifestyle. You know how they say people are out of somebody's league? I don't know that I really believe that, but maybe. She was kind of out of his league, really vivacious, outgoing, people person. She wanted to do the YouTube channel and the blog. They only had one video. She really wanted to do it. He wasn't really interested in doing it. He was more of an artist, outdoorsy person. I mean, from what I can tell, he liked kids. He liked to do his art. He was more solitary in a way. And she was just more gregarious. They seemed really opposite. He wanted to not use plastics and be environmental and save the planet. And she was just more about life, right? And from what I could tell during the time the police stopped them, because someone was driving by and saw Brian slapping her outside of the van, slapping her hard, and reported it and called 911, made the report, the cops come. When the cops come, it got switched. And Brian, from all reports, did a very good job of making himself to be the victim. And she took on the antagonist role and said that she had been making him mad. She had OCD and anxiety, and she was trying to do things a certain way, and it was upsetting him. And he was telling her that he didn't believe in her and he didn't think she could do the blog. But as a psychotherapist, her body language, the degree of anxiety, what her body language was doing, she was holding her chest in a very protective way. She was crying. She was real angsty. All of her body language. He, on the other hand, was real loose, grinny, laughy, wanted to make sure he wasn't going to get charged with anything or go to jail. And when he realized it was going to be on her, they took him to a hotel and left her in the van overnight. What good cop leaves a petite, I don't care if they believe she was the antagonist. She's 110 pounds. He's a grown man. Antagonist or not. The equation doesn't make sense. But what good cop? They were called by 911 by someone driving by watching her get slapped. That should have been a clue right there. What good cop, even if that wasn't a clue, leaves a tiny young woman in a van by herself in a place that she's unfamiliar with, alone on the side of a road somewhere? What good cop does that and then puts the guy in a hotel? Does that make sense to you? It makes 0 cents. 0 cents. If they had really dug deeper into the story, the report even. If they had called and dug a little deeper to why they were even there because of the 911 call, she wouldn't be DEAD right now. She would still be here. That's the truth. But instead, they separated them for the night and had them come back together. With all the underlying tension and her being the aggressor, so to speak, and he being the victim. Because shortly thereafter, we all know what happened. Now, I don't know the timeline if she had been in the hotel a week prior to this or after. I think it was prior. I'm not sure. I'll have to figure out the timeline. Someone can correct me. I'm going to wear these so I can figure out what the chat's saying. Let's roll back. Because I know we all have something to say. Adam says, hi, Dana, and hi, everyone in the chat. Good to see everyone. I'm so happy everyone's here. Ian says, I just got to pull up the thing so I can see y'all. Because even with these, I can't see with the glare. We need to start teaching young girls to love and value themselves so much they're not willing to put up with these guys. Yes. And I'm not saying that it can't happen to guys, because it can. It's just rare. It's rare. You're right, Kit. It does not pass the snuff test. I mean, common sense alone would tell you. And I know the cops see a lot of things. They see a lot of things where women don't press charges. But sometimes they need a law where it doesn't matter if the woman presses charges or not. There are some, I think in Georgia, they don't care if the woman presses charges or not. If it is, if you can see that something's going on and it looks fishy, if it walks like a duck, talks like a duck, and moves like a duck, they're going to arrest somebody. Because they'd rather arrest and make a mistake than find somebody not here tomorrow. Or at least it used to be like that. You know, the rules change all the time. Grenade says, if they had been told by a call that the girl was slapped, surely they could have said a witness said there was a report. The guy called and actually wrote out a report also. I've pulled up a bunch of sites to help show the reports. Yeah, Tammy says, quack, quack, quack. Wasn't there a TikToker involved in some way? Yeah, you wait. I've got some things pulled up. I have to give some credit to, which is fine. I've just got so many things pulled up that I have to borrow just because I wanted to show you pictures. Ian says they also could have arrested the cops, had to chase him for a while in high speed until he actually stopped. And she says, but in small towns, cops don't do that. Yeah, sometimes in small towns, especially if some of the small town cops have a certain mindset where they think it's okay, yeah. Because you have some bad cops too that think there's nothing wrong with giving a good swift pop to your honey. And it says, unfortunately, cops deal with small scuffs like that all the time. It's hard for them to actually guess when it's just said and when it's actually serious. But sometimes you have to err on the side. I mean, if they got a bloody nose and a bruise, you know, sometimes you have to use your gut instinct. Often, I hate to say it, not necessarily because of size, and sometimes a gun makes up for that, but sometimes I think women make better cops often. Not all the time, but just by intuition. Can you help Stan? I just keep getting his voicemails and missed calls. Yes, that text was odd. I just heard it could mean sending authorities now. Oh, I did not think about that. I kept, but she said her grandfather's name was Stan. But yeah, I did not think about that. If her grandfather's name had not been named, if he had not had the name Stan, it may have triggered something. But absolutely, it may have been code and he may have been sitting there listening. Absolutely. I know. Shouldn't have released him back to the boyfriend. It was sad to see the police could have done something. I want you to hear this 911 call. It is by virtue of Fox 13 Tampa Bay. I'm going to share it by Fox Tampa Bay. Let's share it. Oh, Lord. I've got so many things to share. I hope I don't clog up my thing. Uh-oh. Let's see. Okay. Here we go. Oh, wait. Let me make sure I got the volume thing. Share. Video file. That is not what I want. Hold on. Let me do it again. I want to make sure I've got the volume. Sorry. There it goes. The audio. Okay, sorry.
Hi, can you hear me, sir?
Yeah, I can hear you.
Hi, I'm calling. I'm right on the corner of Main Street by Moonflower.
Can you hear?
And we're driving by, and I'd like to report a domestic dispute. Florida with the white van, Florida license plate, white land, gentleman,
Where's it at?
5'6" beard. They just drove off. They're going down Main Street. They made a right onto Main Street from Moonflower.
Or what were they doing?
Cooperative, but what'd you say?
What were they doing?
We drove by, and the gentleman was slapping the girl.
He was slapping her?
Yes, and then we stopped. They ran up and down the sidewalk. He proceeded to hit her, hopped in the car, and they drove off.
Okay, you said it's a white van?
White van. I can give you the license plate. Just give me 1 sec. I took a picture of it.
What kind of white van? Like a big one?
It was a smaller van with the license plate of, it was white, Florida license plate. It was, the make was a Ford, model was Transit, black ladder on the passenger side.
Black ladder, passenger side.
White Ford Transit.
White Ford Transit. Okay, what's your name? And where did they, so they headed south on Main Street from Moonflower Market?
Correct. They made the right turn.
Oh, so they went north.
North. Yeah, sorry, I'm not from around here.
Okay, you're right there by the post office?
Right across the street, yep.
Okay, and when they turned onto Main Street, they went right or left?
Right.
Right, so they went north. North on Main. All right, I will let somebody know. Thank you.
Yeah, no worries.
Bye.
Thanks.
Bring more clients to your door in 10 minutes a day. Try local SEO.
Okay, y'all, that was as loud as I could get it. So sometimes if I share, you might have to turn it up on your end because I had it as loud as I could get it. But see, there you go. Someone had already called and reported. So it had the words up there, so I hope that helped. But someone had already called and reported. I'm going to drop the link if anyone wants to come up. He's already been gone, what they are saying is a week now. A week. He has to come out at some point and purchase something. They recognize him all over the world. In every state in the whole United States. You know, like my husband said, well, they're letting people over the border, but it's harder to get for us to get on the other side of the border. So I would think they would recognize him there. He's on foot. He says, why would it take days for his parents to tell he was missing? Because I feel like it was their hopes he would get a heads up. To get a start, to get away, or to figure out what he was going to do. I don't know how much information he gave his parents. They had to realize that, of course, she's not with him. Regardless of how many details they had, they know that Gabby's not with him. They know something's fishy. Yep, Cuba and Bahamas is very close, but you have to take a plane. You have to take a plane. They picked up his car somewhere. He left a note. They came back and picked up his car from where it was sitting. If he went to the Bahamas, it's still considered part of the United States. Cuba, on the other hand, even though it's a possibility, here's the thing. Oh, yeah, you're right. You could go on boat to Cuba. Where's he going to get the boat? Maybe his family's got a boat. But in my gut, everyone's after him. He doesn't have the world of money. I just cannot help but feel he knows that he set himself up for failure. He lawyered up and he left. He knows he's not going to be able to handle prison. He was obsessed with Gabby. I don't know that it was necessarily premeditated. I do believe he got angry and he did it. Don't get me wrong, I have no sympathy for the guy. Because even if he didn't intentionally do it, he got mad and he did it. And then instead of standing up and saying, this is what happened, there's squirreliness around it before, and he's definitely implicated himself, and there's squirreliness after. He would not survive prison. I don't believe he would. I just cannot help but feel that ultimately, rather than face what would go on with prison, he would just not be able to cope with the whole idea of it. I just cannot help but feel that it would just wear him down from the inside out. I want to know your thoughts. What did Adam say? Maybe a family member or friend could be hiding him somewhere. I mean, that is always a possibility, but most of his people are in New York. He would have to get to them, or they would have to meet him halfway, and then you're implicating them, and they could go to jail. Ian said the reason she thinks it's premeditated is because he removed all of her stuff out of his home before, yeah, that word, her. When he went back, he knew what he was going to do. And that is the possibility because he moved her stuff out. When they got in the fight and he went back and moved her stuff out, maybe he was still angry because they weren't engaged. Maybe that was part of why they were fighting. And he was saying he didn't believe in her. You know, with obsession comes insanity, right? Maybe he was wanting to put a ring on it to lock her down. Tammy says her intuition tells her the same. Adam, family keeps coming up. Well, look what his family was willing to do. And, oh, get this. His mother, prior to and after, by the way, Gabby being confirmed not here. I have to watch the words I use, by the way. If you don't hear me use the actual words. His mother created a fake Gabby Instagram account. Did you know that? And she was writing Gabby posts, but in the style of Brian. Gabby tends to write shorter and sweeter posts. But she wrote posts. Let me see if I can find it. She wrote posts that were, okay. Let me share it with you. I give credit to this from Behind True Crime. Behind True Crime posted this. So I'm giving credit to them. Let me share. Turn up your volume as high as you can because I'm going to turn it up as loud as I can on this end. Okay? Gabby's, can you believe that? Brian's mom created a fake Instagram account in Gabby's name, pretending to be Gabby, and she kept it going even after they knew Gabby wasn't here. Creepy, 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 trying to cover for her son. So the parents are covering to some degree. It is very creepy. Let's watch this. Makes me sick. But, you know, parents are parents sometimes. I wouldn't do that. I love my children, but I would not do that. Let's see where I can find it. I am blind. Okay, Dana, you can't see. Where is it? Okay, here it is. Watch this, guys. I'm not hearing anything. Why am I not hearing anything? I can't hear it. I don't hear anything. Maybe she's just posting it. Okay, I'm just going to blow it up and show you. Because I don't know why I can't hear anything. Here's the fake account. Okay, now I'm going to pause it. I ask that you please don't send neither Brian nor his family hateful comments, as that will only make the situation worse. I know that the truth will eventually be brought into light, and we need time and privacy to process all of this. I just want everyone to know that I'm okay. It's been a long, troubling couple of weeks, but I'm pushing through. Thank you so much for the outpouring of love and support. So nice to know I have an army behind me. This is sickening. Okay, this is Brian's parents. This is a fake account. I guess she just took a picture of it. Gabby 2. That's it. Maybe she muted it. Anyway, that is the account. Can you believe it? Can you believe it? Oh, they left town recently? Unbelievable. I mean, this just bothers me to no end. I mean, for a mother to not, she impersonated a victim. Impersonated a victim. I want to see if it's still on Instagram. I'm going to look. I'm going to check. Unless she's already taken it down. Are you checking too? Gabs. Was it TOO? I think it was TOO. I don't see it. Did any of you find it? She may have taken it down by now because she caught the heat. If any of you find it, let me know. There's a lot of accounts that have popped up now. If any of you would like to come up, I have dropped the link a few times. Ian says, right now I would be sleeping at my son's room, going to the bathroom with him to make sure he wouldn't off himself. The risk would be very high. They don't seem worried. I wonder how much they know. I would like to hear from the parents. They were supposed to be interviewed the other night, and then it got canceled. Gabby has, I know she has, well, I think she has a brother and a sister. I don't know how many siblings she has. And on top of it, the attorney has been advertising with Brian and Gabby's photos. Advertising with Brian and Gabby's photos. How tacky and sick is that? So Gabby's family have written him very angry letters saying, if you do not remove Gabby's photos from these things by 2 o'clock, I think it was today, that they were taking him to court, etc., and pressing all kinds of charges to remove Gabby's photos. And this is my feeling. Sorry. I feel like Brian's snaky attorney, somewhere in his gut, feels like this is the biggest case he's ever had, and odds are it may not go to trial because he's feeling like Brian might not come back alive. So he's going to get his 15 minutes of fame while he can. That's my feeling. You would think his parents would be helping beat the streets, looking for their son. At this point, a week gone. And all these people mad as hell at their house, asking where Gabby was. And the FBI taking the parents out to the black car so they could have full access to the house. I'm sure they went up in the attic, down in the pool, down in the basement, wherever they could go. You know that his family has to be catching heat by now. So you would think Brian would come out of the woods to save his family. To save his family. Yeah, another Scott Peterson. I agree, Tammy. So that's got to be weighing on him to some point. Because I would assume he cares about his family. And I do believe he's narcissistic to some degree. But there are some sensitivities about him. I don't believe he's 100% without feeling. I believe he's the type that can be sensitive, but when he's rubbed the wrong way and triggered, that's where he goes off. You know, like one of those that got bullied back in the day. Like the kids that get bullied so much that they turn around and shoot up a school. That's what he feels like to me, on some level. On some level. But not to the degree that those that go in and attack a whole school. More contained. More contained. More focused. Like on a love focused. Not a whole arena focused. Not a whole school focused. Doesn't like rejection. More about rejection. You understand what I'm saying? So he finally got the love he wanted, Gabby. It's like finally getting the jewel that you have been seeking your whole life and wanting to put it in this perfect box. Understand? But this jewel, how can I put it? Wants to, maybe a jewel's not the right thing. Finally getting this perfect specimen of a perfect little puppy, for instance. And you want that puppy to live with you your whole life. But the puppy wants to explore. And I'm not saying Gabby's a puppy, but you get my story, right? The puppy wants to explore and be happy and frolic, but the puppy still loves you, but the puppy still wants to explore. But you want to keep the puppy contained. so hard that the puppy's unhappy. Puppy still wants to explore and be happy. But it took you so long to be able to get the puppy to be yours. That's kind of the feeling, that tug, right? He wants to control her. He wants to own her. It took him so long to get her. That's the feeling I get. Ian says her dad said he called every number they had of his family members and never got an answer. Of course not. They are in freaking panic mode. And they don't know what to say because they know he is guilty. And they know they are going to get lambasted. And it is no excuse. I mean, can you imagine? I would be like wanting forgiveness, and there's nothing you can say. When can you imagine them feeling like, oh, I love my kid, my kid's a monster? I love my kid's a monster. I love my kid took somebody's life. I don't know what kind of parents he has. I can't imagine. I can't imagine Gabby's parents because I've lost a child. And, oh my Lord. They are completely devastated and gutted and angry. And they want him to pay and home. And on this small level inside, as much as they want him to pay and home, they still feel for his parents on some level. I guarantee you. Ian said, Vicky, most people are very bad criminals. A lot of people saw them, so they circle got smaller and smaller. And Ian says, yes, Jameson, he had the starch on his face. She had no marks, so they'll say she was the aggressor. Oh, you mean scratch on his face. And if you've got fingernails, and it's no excuse for somebody scratching somebody, let me preface. But if a girl has fingernails, if she has her fingernails done, it is so easy to scratch somebody. So easy. And even not on purpose. If I was his attorney, I'm strongly targeting childless white conservative men. In my opinion, it would present a viable path to winning with an emotionally battered boyfriend defense. Okay, I need to reread that. If I was his attorney, I'm strongly targeting childless white conservative men. In my opinion, it would present a viable path to winning with an emotionally battered boyfriend defense. I don't know, with her not here, that he could win that. Especially when you have witnesses that saw him repeatedly slapping her across the face on the side of a road. And you have other witnesses that have seen other things going on between them. You know what I mean? And now she's not here anymore. I just don't know that case would be won like that. I just don't know. And I'm coming from the point of a psychotherapist. I just don't know. Yeah, I take callers. That's why I keep dropping the link. Hey, Wade, thank you for being here. And Vicky. I've dropped the link a few times. Nobody's Taking it? Yeah, I take callers. I welcome callers. Oh, you leaving, Vicky? You have a great night, too. Thank you for being here. Hey, Wade.
Hey,
Welcome.
thank you.
So, what do you want to say about this case?
I'm pretty well versed in the case. So I'll talk about anything you want, but two things that are on my mind that I want to get out first is I've seen Jameson, the defense attorney, in a couple of different channels. I have a feeling, and I'm not saying, Jameson, that you're part of this, but I've
Yeah.
seen it before. I've been following cases for a long time. I've followed some big profile cases that involved a lot of money. And what I've seen discussed and even admitted to is that sometimes defense teams will hire, it's kind of like a PR group. And what their job is two things. They want to create a sense of defense among society. So they'll go into these chat rooms and they'll say things like he's innocent, he was the one being abused, et cetera, et cetera. And I'm not saying that's taken place in this case, but I have seen it where these defense teams have admitted that this is one of their strategies. And then the process, the other thing is they're gathering data. So they're looking for all the evidence that's being presented against them. They're looking for the kind of the state of mind of people, and they're gathering all this information to prepare their case if it ever becomes something that goes to trial. And the fact that they had an attorney so quickly, and the way that they're just acting through the process, it wouldn't surprise me if that's what's going on. So that's one of the things that I wanted to say.
Gotcha.
The other thing I wanted to say real quickly is that, and this is no offense to people who don't believe in God, but I strongly do. And I don't know why certain cases would have more of a spiritual presence than others, but I feel that this one very strongly does. And some people I've seen a couple of people talking about the name Brian Laundrie. And if you make, is it an anagram or something? If you change the letters along with Brian, it could be brain. And then laundry could kind of represent wash. So someone who brainwashes in the case of Brian. But in the case of Gabby Petito, if what that would literally translate into is, so Gabby is like a child of God.
Yeah.
And Petito be small, so it's like a small child of God. And if you look at the Bible, and it talks about if you were to basically harm a child of God or cause a child of God to sin, that you're better off having, I forget what it is, but like having something tied around your neck like stones and thrown into the depth of the ocean. In other words, you've got a real judgment day coming for you. And I'm seeing that all over this case. I don't think Brian's going to get away. I think he's going to experience a lot more pain than he ever thought would be possible. I don't know that he even believes in God, but I think his judgment day is definitely coming, and it's going to be a harsh one. And I feel like that, like the symbolism. So there was a photo, I don't know if you've seen it, with a rainbow at the crime site. Did you see that one? It's a beautiful rainbow that appeared, and they took a photo of it.
I didn't see the one in the sky. I've seen her with the wings a few times.
Right. So, and I think my understanding is that her father prefers that if anyone's going to use photos for these type of streams and things like that, that's the one that he likes.
Okay. See if I can find it. And yes, I deeply believe in God. I died and came back when I was 12 and had an experience with God.
See if you can find the rainbow at the crime site. That's a really beautiful photo.
Oh, wait. Let me put her last name and see if it does it. I see the rainbow by itself. I see this. Is this it? Wait. Let me see if it'll let me share.
There's so much symbolism. Yes, that's it.
It just makes me sick.
The one on the far right is the one I was referring to. And then they left a cross. I guess it was the investigators or the processors of the crime scene. It looks like they left a cross made of stones.
I saw the cross of stones. Where am I missing it now? I saw it before I popped this up. Can you see
Which
it?
one are you looking for?
Gabby and the rainbow.
I see it on your screen right now.
Is it up here?
Well, it's not Gabby. It's just a photo from the crime scene where they saw a rainbow. That's my understanding. From where her remains were found. I do see it on your screen right now.
This one. This one. I see it. I'll close it down.
I think her name could be interpreted as a small child of God.
Yeah.
If you look at the meanings of her names.
I mean, I want it all to mean more than this, and it bothers me so much that it feels like the parents know more than they're sharing.
Yes, there's a lot of symbolism on both sides. I feel like this is a true battle of kind of good and evil, or however you want to phrase that. And there's so much symbolism going on from Brian's side. If you start looking to his social media posts on Pinterest and the books that he reads and his Instagram post, and I don't know how much you're familiar with that or how much you want to get into that, but there is a lot. And one of the books that Brian really seems to like, or an author is, the book is Fight Club.
Yeah. I knew about that.
And the first two rules of Fight Club are, two rules of Fight Club are don't talk about Fight Club.
Yeah. And it made me
I kind of see
wonder
that theme in his family.
Why he's so obsessed about Fight Club, and now they're not talking about any of it. And he didn't talk about, they're saying that when he went home, that he didn't discuss anything with his family. That's what they're saying.
Yeah. Well, and his family's hushed too. So I think that there's that dynamic going on in that family where it's very tight knit, right?
Yeah.
They're like a fight club in a sense.
And to me, he and Gabby felt like day and night. She was more about life, and he was more about conservation and art and Fight Club and Withdrawn. Does that make sense? And I don't know if it made sense to you when I said it felt like she was something he was always trying to capture and put in a box. Are you there? Wade?
Yeah, I am. I don't know if I'm lagging out. Do I lag whenever I speak?
No, I just didn't hear you for a couple of minutes.
I was listening to you.
Okay. It just felt like, I don't know, like he had this internal obsession, and then she started feeling like she needed to pull away, and things started to unravel. And I have told people in here many, many times, I feel like our whole world is in the midst of spiritual warfare. And it's scary. You there? Wait. Now there's lagging. Hello, hello? I can no longer hear you. Did you drop off? I guess he dropped off. Well, it was a pleasure to have Wade up here. and understood what he was saying. Let's see what's going on in the chat. Any one of you are welcome to pop up here. Jameson says you have to go for manslaughter if you were defending him. If he had not been on the run, if he had stayed home and said X, Y, and Z happened, he potentially could have gone for manslaughter. But the fact he went on the run, that's out the window. Completely out the window. So manslaughter's gone. Acquittal's gone. So, he's going to get 1 or 2 for sure. Oh, that's interesting, Jameson. Criminal defense attorney for 40 plus years. You want to come up and talk about it? He's just in a hot mess express. I'm just saying, because of how he has handled this whole thing, he's going to be kissing the bars probably 40 to life. Hey, Wade.
Hey,
Yeah,
I lagged out.
Yeah, I saw that. Do you live in the States?
I do. Yeah, I just don't have a very good connection.
Gotcha.
I don't know why. Also, I've noticed that if people try to play videos while I'm on, it lags me out. And I don't know why that would affect me. It shouldn't affect my bandwidth, but.
What state do you live in?
I'm in the Midwest.
Oh, Midwest. I'm in Georgia. I'm sure you can tell from my accent. But I've told people in here over and over, I strongly feel like we're in spiritual warfare because of everything that's going on in the world.
Oh, for sure. I thought you meant specifically on this case, which I definitely feel that this case is a spiritual warfare case. But in general,
everywhere.
Yeah, I think so too.
There's so much darkness and chaos and everything going on. I just feel it. I don't like it.
And that's why.
Go ahead.
Well, I've been following this case pretty closely, and I've talked on other streams, but this is the first time I've talked about God, and I felt compelled to do that because I am feeling more and more of that, and we have to bring some balance, right? And we have to bring in some light and some balance to what we're experiencing and feeling.
I have no problem talking about God. It's like I tell other people, I don't care who you call your creator. I call my creator God. And ultimately, you'll find whoever you call your creator, it's all the same thing. That's what I found when I died and came back. Ultimately. So, this is no hate zone here, by the way.
Well, yeah, I definitely respect everyone's opinion, and even people who don't believe at all, atheist, I respect that too, because I have a very logical, analytical mind, and if I simply look at things from that perspective, I could easily see, well, how can you prove it?
Right. Well, I mean, it's just like, how do you prove love? It has to be the individual person's journey and spiritual journey and experience. And even sometimes atheists that don't believe, in the end, they're asking for God. You know what I'm saying? So it's not our place to judge the person.
No, I definitely do. Life has humbled me over time, and I'm not one to typically judge.
It was like I told them, I lost my child 4 years ago.
Oh, wow.
One of my children, and it's ultimately gutting. And I have another child, but my son was handicapped, and he was by far the greatest teacher I have ever had in my entire life. And when he passed, it was by a mistake the hospital made.
I lost someone very close to me by a mistake an intentional mistake the hospital made.
And I'm very deeply sorry. And the near death experience I had, I was 12 years old. I was a kid. And I never understood why that happened until I had my son. And then the pieces started falling together. You understand what I'm saying? And there were things I was witness to that you sometimes you don't understand until you have life experiences. And then you're like, oh, now I get it. Oh, now I get it. So people have to go on their own journey sometimes, and sometimes you have to go through a lot of pain to understand. So I never judge, ever. Now, I don't like what I take that back a little bit. I'm judging what Brian did. You get me? To some extent, I'm judging what Brian did because I feel it was wrong. But it's not my place to, how do I say it? There may have been, he may be have mental health problems. There may be other things I don't know. There's no excuse for what he did.
Well, that's what I said the other night in someone else's stream, is kind of what you just said. And I said that Brian, whatever happened, is separate from the fact that Brian is an obvious victim, right? Is it a victim of genetics? Is it a victim of life experience, of environment? I don't know, and I'm not saying that excuses him from any actions that he may have participated in, but it's kind of like, that's why I say I was very fortunate to have a really good childhood.
Yeah.
And not everyone is. And I had both parents until my father passed away. And well, I've lost both parents at this point, but my father passed away when I was pretty young. But when I had them, they were good parents.
Yeah.
And not everyone gets that experience. And I had a pretty easy life, so to speak. Definitely lower middle class, but pretty easy. Never really a lot of worries. And a lot of the people who end up committing crimes and becoming drug addicts and all these things, a lot of those people don't get that same fair start in life. They're brought up in an abusive home, or a home where there's drug abuse, or they never really have a place where they feel safe. And those are things that I didn't have to deal with. And when you're young, you don't have that life experience to understand, not to judge other people, that because you have this perception that everyone had the same kind of parents you did and the same home you did and things like that. But with life experience and maturity, we should start to realize that life is not fair for some people. And we got to be really careful about judging other people without having walked in their shoes, or knowing what their life experiences have been. Because having finally been through some trauma in my life, you can get knocked down really quickly by life experiences, as you have, and you seem to be dealing with it really well. But to lose a child, I mean, that could really break somebody.
I have my days, believe me. I mean, it was the anniversary of his passing on the 12th. And I lost my dad, and then I got diagnosed with MS right after I lost my son. But be that as it may, we always also have to remember sometimes, on rare occasion, and I'm a psychotherapist, on rare occasion, I do believe there are some people that are evil.
Yeah, I agree.
Thank God it's not that many, but I do believe there are some people that are inexplicably evil. Now, where Brian falls into all of this, I don't know that he's inexplicably evil. I don't get the sense that he is inexplicably evil. I want to know the story of how this overall occurred. I mean, they've known each other since high school. So I have the feeling that something got out of hand. I just have the feeling that it just elevated, and over time, something got out of hand and he took it too far. But he's handled it to the extreme, and he's going to have to pay if he is alive when they find him. He's just going to have to pay. If he had done it and it was, they were fighting, and he did something like shoved her and her head hit a rock, or you know what I'm saying. If it had gone too far in that way and it was more like manslaughter and he had gone home and explained what happened, it would have been vastly different. But he left and didn't handle things appropriately, and he's made it multitudes worse. And now his mom did that Instagram acting like her. What does that say to you?
Do we know for sure that it was his mom, though? Could it have been Brian?
No. Well, it's possible, but he was already gone when some of those were written, because the writing continued. So a lady that found it, she was able to Google and do the phone number and crack the code. You know how you have to put your name or your email and password in?
I saw that video.
Yeah. She was able to crack the code and get in, and it belonged to his mom.
Well, the email address was like Gabby's and then her birth year. So anyone could create that email. And then the phone number apparently was the mom's phone number. But the way Instagram works, to my understanding, and I'm not really an expert in social media, but I assume, is that you have to attach a phone number to an account.
Yeah.
So you can't create, well, you might be able to, I don't know, but I'm assuming you can't create two accounts attached to the same phone number. Maybe you can. But if you can't, then, because I've tried to do things not on Instagram, but on another platform where I wanted to create two different accounts, and it wouldn't allow me to, because you had to have a phone number to verify a text message to verify the account.
Yeah.
And so I asked a friend if I could use their phone to create my second account. So
Gotcha.
It's possible that if he had access to his mom's phone, that he could use her phone to create a second account.
That is a good point.
So I'm just throwing that out there. I'm not saying that it was him, but just because it was her phone doesn't mean that it was her.
That is a good point, because they did say it was in the style of writing of Brian, because he would write lengthy. And it was pumping Brian up, not Gabby. But it was, it did use wordy stuff. I don't know what his style was, and you know how it was pumping him up and how he would caress the rocks with his feet, and people would make over how he did so. I don't know if he would write like that or not, but it was in longer paragraphs like he would write. So if his mom was doing it to protect him, that makes them legally involved, complicit.
Well, the FBI is definitely going to find out. You can be sure of that.
I just wish one way or the other they would find him. It's just sickening. And then they say, well, because they're Caucasian, they don't do this with other types of families, that they're putting more eyes on it. But in my opinion, I think it's just because of the way it was done. Because he shows up and the other person's missing and everybody's reporting. But it is a good point that oftentimes people show up missing and you don't hear it in the news. So more needs to be done about that. It's just very curious to me. Do we put more eyes on it if it's a Caucasian family?
Well, I think yes, and I don't think that that's any big conspiracy or anything. It's just kind of human nature that you're going to, for instance, you're more likely to follow a case in the United States than, say, other countries, at least as an American. I know a lot of other countries would follow our cases, but most Americans prefer to follow cases in the United States. And it's not necessarily a prejudice thing. It's just that it's closer to home. And so what's the percentage of the population of the United States is Caucasian? I don't know.
I don't know anymore.
Is it 80-something%? I'm not sure. It's quite a bit, isn't it?
I don't even know if it's like that anymore. I just think it needs to be a level playing ground. And maybe sometimes it's because of the lack of reporting. And maybe sometimes it's because this was just a really unusual case and it was more of a YouTube thing. I don't know.
But yeah, I agree. We need more of a level playing field. There's no doubt about that. I can remember though, I'm not sure if I had the name right, but was it Kanika Jenkins or something? That was a really big case at the time.
Yeah.
It was the most talked about case on social media that I was aware of. So I think it's not always about race. It's just about something about the case that is captivating and catches people's attention, and then it spreads from there. But how do we? Well, for a good example is the two women that we would have never known about, the married young newlyweds. We would have never known about that case had it not been for this case. But
I
yet
just
that
heard
was
about
this case
that. That just happened currently, didn't it?
Oh, I'm talking about. Are you not familiar with the two women that were found murdered in the creek bed? That one of the women worked at the store that where the domestic violence issue took place in front of it, called the Moonflower? I forget the name now. In Moab, where the domestic incident took place, it was reported. Well, one of the women that worked there, the last time she was seen alive was the next night. They were found murdered in a creek bed with several gunshot wounds to the side, the back, and the chest. And
yeah, I just heard about it. Weren't they just married?
Yeah, they had just gotten married. It was a female couple.
And one had long hair, and the other one had,
Yes.
a tank top, and the other one had a bra. Yeah, and two guys. They were worried. They had been sort of camping in their van too.
Yes.
And they were worried about some skeezy guy that had been walking around. Yeah, I just heard about that.
Yeah, but we would have never heard about that case had it not been for this case. But yet when this case first came about, it was only a missing person case where that was a double homicide.
Oh, yeah.
So it's just a good example of what you were just saying. Some cases, but they're both white. But some cases catch fire and other cases don't, and why? And it is unfair. And what do we do to balance that out? I have no idea. What I have been saying and trying to spread the message on is that the FBI, local law enforcement, all of these agencies are using training and procedures that are decades old, and they need to get up to date. And I'm not talking. Mm-hmm.
No, I agree.
Well, they don't make use of the public. There's a camera on every street now, pretty much. There's cameras, and many people have cameras in their front dash, or looking out, recording whatever their car is seeing. These cameras are everywhere now, and the law enforcement does not make use of that. The first thing I would do, if I were working a case, is I'd take all the information that I have. I'd decide what can we not tell? What do we need to keep among ourselves so that we can identify if someone's confessing to the crime that's not really involved or something like that? Some information I understand you've got to keep close. And then what can we release? And I would release as much as absolutely possible. And then I would hold a big press conference. I would contact local news agencies or national, depending on how far I think that this case covered. And I would say immediately, before people forget, before people erase their videos and things, because sometimes people only hold them for a day. Some people may hold them for a week, certain stores and stuff. And before all that's gone, immediately say, look, here's what happened. Here's all the information we have. These are the vehicles involved. This is a possible description of the suspect. Please review all your cameras in your vehicles, your cameras at home, and from this, if you're within this, say, radius of 100 miles or whatever, or if you have a smaller radius, fine. And everybody review what you have. Look for anything suspicious or anything that relates to any of these things that we've told you about. And then you're going to have people that are going to come forward with information like this couple, this YouTube couple that went and reviewed the media that found the van. But if you don't tell people to look for it and they don't know to look for it, and you give them, they find out 30 days later, well, they've already deleted that footage possibly.
That's an excellent idea, Wade, because look, most people inherently want to help. That's the truth.
Yes. You have to ask for their help.
You absolutely, just like, look, I believe in angels. I know they're there, and we have free will. But if you don't ask for an angel's help, they're not going to help you unless your life is in dire straits, unless it's time you're about to die. But be that as it may, most people are inherently good, and they desire to help you. We all have cell phones. We all have cameras. If you put a bolo out there, or put something out there, like you said, that says, we are looking for this, we need help, etc., people are going to be on the lookout.
Right. And for anyone that doesn't know, bolo is be on the lookout.
Yeah.
Right. So you're right. And law enforcement doesn't do that. Instead, they do the opposite. We're going to tell you as little as possible. And they're doing that with this case too, telling us as little as possible. We still don't know the cause of death, which I guarantee law enforcement does. It might not be official yet, but they have some idea. We don't know if a knife was involved, a gun was involved. There's just so many things that if they shared more information, then people may think, you know what, I saw something related to this, and they can report it. But law enforcement I think there's too many egos involved with law enforcement. They just need to drop the ego. They need to realize, look, okay, a good example is this John Walsh, right? He used to do America's Most Wanted show, right?
Mm-hmm.
They solved a lot of crimes with that show. They found a lot of people. These are people that the FBI couldn't find for years.
Yeah.
And it's because he asked for the public's help. What did he always say on the show? He goes, we need your help. That was kind of the catch, right?
Yeah. Absolutely.
And law enforcement needs to do that, because law enforcement loves to cast the shadow upon the true crime community. Like, we're stupid, we're causing more harm than good, or whatever it is. And that's just not the case.
But look, statistics about cops alone. Did you know that 40% of cops, ABUSE, family members? That's a true statistic.
Well, I guess there's certain words you don't want to say, and I'll try to be careful with what I say. But so when it comes to this stuff about the movement recently before the elections, which we don't see anymore, isn't that interesting?
The Me Too, we can say that. We just can't say that other word.
Well, so the one involving race, right? That movement.
Yeah.
With
gotcha.
police brutality.
Yeah.
So, which is a real thing. I'm not taking away from that. But isn't it interesting how that was all pre-election, and now you hear nothing about that?
Yeah.
Did the world suddenly change?
No.
Did we fix it all, or why don't we still talk about that? But anyway,
we still have all the issues.
Well, yeah, but that was being funded by political money. Specifically, I don't know if you want to talk about that, but I'll just move on from that topic. But my point is, what I was going to say is to support what you just said. There's truth to just police brutality in general, and it's because who else is going to do that job? I'm not going to do it. Are you going to do it?
No.
How many people who are kind of kind-spirited, compassionate, empathetic people? I might do some form of law enforcement, but it's going to be it's going to be in a wealthy suburb area, right? I'm not going to work downtown in the worst neighborhood. I'm not going to do it. It's not my personality. I don't want to deal with those people. But yet somebody has to go in there and work the crime units for that area, right?
Yeah.
Who are you going to get to do that? Okay,
See,
it's probably going to be a certain personality type. It's probably going to be someone that has that desires power, that likes to control things. And so when you get these kind of people and you put them into that position of power, there's going to be, which
ego.
you said, the word you said, ABU, of
Uh-huh.
that power.
Yeah.
And so it's not just what the point I was trying to say, that it does take place, but it's not specific to, and I'm not saying there's not more so, but I'm about as Caucasian as you can get. And I've been a victim myself on multiple times without me having ever committed a crime.
Gotcha.
So you're right. I mean, it's a personality thing. It's that particular, every job, right, attracts a certain personality type. Who becomes a florist?
Yeah.
Is some real manly, macho, alpha male kind of guy going to be a florist? Probably not. Right. So you have to look at the profession and then see what kind of personality is that going to attract.
Right. Who becomes a psychotherapist, right?
Somebody that wants to do self-discovery and help other people, I would think.
A counselor. People that, care about people that are in pain.
By the way, I don't know if that's amethyst that you have there, but I love amethyst.
Thank you.
Well, I mean on your
screen.
In your background.
Yeah, and purple's my favorite color. Yeah, it's amethyst. But yeah, I mean, I see what you're saying, but in the big picture of things, we're in a world of hurt right here, and all of this bad stuff is going on, and it's a reaction to a lot of darkness in the world, and we have to pay attention. And now all eyes are glued on this crime. Have you ever seen such? The world is glued on this guy like I've never seen. Everywhere you turn, the TV, the YouTube, everything.
Yeah, I would be curious to know if there's ever been a bigger case as far as national awareness.
I mean, they're looking at the swamps, they're looking at the lands, and now everybody's going, where is Waldo with Brian? And I would be interested in the chat, where does everybody figure he is? They're saying Cuba.
My chat's not updating.
Why is it not updating?
Mine's not. I don't know why.
I don't know. Either they're listening. Hello, Marcella Booth Davis. Thank you for coming. Marcella, where do you think this guy is? I'm feeling like he's not going to want to go to jail. I'm feeling like the temperament of him is feeling like he cannot handle jail. What do you think, Wade? I don't feel like he'll do jail. I feel like he'll take his life.
Well, what I feel like is going on right now is I think he has an attorney that has advised him and is probably still working with the family. I think they're preparing I think he's on the run. I think that he has some level of confidence that, one, I don't know that he's breaking any laws right now about being on the run. So he can run freely without really, yes, people are looking for him, but what can they do when they find him? I don't know. I don't know if he can even be arrested or if they have a warrant out at this point. I don't know. But let's say they even do. Then he still has a chance then they've got to be able to build a case against him. Can they even take it to trial? And then once they do take it to trial, will he win? So he's got several outs at this point that he doesn't really. So I'm sure it's a stressful situation for him, but at the same time, He could still, one, never be found, and two, even if he is found, he might get away with it in trial.
I don't think he can hitchhike anymore because he's recognizable. I don't even know if he could take an Uber or a cab. It would have to be family that helps him, or he's walking. They took his car back, and didn't he take the van back to the house? Didn't he ultimately drive it back?
From Wyoming? Apparently so, yes.
So he's either on foot or someone from New York is helping him. But, they're putting themselves at risk because he is a person of interest. They have considered it a homicide. So the focus is definitely on him. I mean, I feel like they do consider he is the main one that has done it. They just can't nail him yet. But, they've gotten DNA at this point. And they're just holding on to the information.
But his DNA would be expected to be everywhere.
Right. But depending on how she went, that's the key. That's the whole key. And that's why they have specifically not released the cause of her death for the public. That's why they haven't released it. I think they want him to feel a little bit comfortable while he runs, feeling like maybe he has slid by with something.
Well, I kind of thought that all along, that they wanted to not put too much pressure on him with the hopes that he may still turn himself in.
Yeah.
In other words, once you put a warrant out for him and say that he's going to be charged with a particular crime, he's far less likely to ever turn himself. I don't think he ever had any intention of turning himself in, but once you put that kind of pressure on him, I don't see him turn himself in at all.
No.
If he's guilty.
Right. I mean, until charged, right? Innocent until charged guilty. But that is rare that anybody's ever treated like that in the courts. I mean, look at oh, Lord have mercy. What is his name? It slips my mind. The guy that had the wife and the two kids and put the kids down the oil shafts.
Chris Watts.
Yes. That case drove me nuts. Because he just switched gears like that.
Yeah, that's why I've been saying, once I started following these true crime cases, I realized pretty quickly, don't ever try to predict what someone is or is not capable of.
Absolutely.
Because you don't know. The thing is, we want to believe everyone thinks like we do, and that if we wouldn't do it, other people wouldn't do it either, and that's just not the reality of the world.
I mean, because Chris Watts was like, he appeared to be a good father for years. I mean, there was nothing that showed in his nature that you could predict he would ever do anything like that. And
yeah,
so
I wouldn't have thought so either.
It made me sick.
That case made me sick too, as most of them do. And usually once a case is solved, I move on. I don't really understand. He's serving his time. There may be aspects of the case that we'll never really know for sure. But to me, like you said, there's so many cases out there that are unresolved of people that need closure, right? If you have a child such as the woman, Kylan, or whatever her name was, the young woman that was murdered in Moab, and her father's wanting attention on the case that it's not getting, and her father doesn't have closure. At least he knows that, what happened to his daughter was sometimes with missing people.
Yeah.
That to me, that's the worst. If your child is missing for years and you don't know, is my child out there? what's my child suffering? And you've got, do I stop looking? Do I move on with life? And you have to wake up with that every day. To me, it's better if the child is, is gone, deceased, that you get closure on that. And he has that closure, at least to know that, hey, my daughter's gone, so he can move on. It might not be easy, but at least he knows that he has no choice. Whereas if it's missing, it's unresolved. But what he doesn't have closure on is who did this to my daughter.
Yeah.
And with the Chris Watts case, it's pretty much closed, right? And my feeling is move on from that, because if we're going to use our energy, whether it's spiritual warfare energy or whether it's trying to find some clues that might help investigators or whatever it is, let's help those that are still suffering with something that's unresolved. That's my feeling. I'm not saying that I'm right, but that's why I kind of moved on from the Chris Watts case. To me, that's closed, and there's so many other cases that are not solved.
I have been wanting to work on some cold cases, actually. Interested?
There's a couple of channels that do that go back and look at cold cases and try to revisit them. And sometimes information is found that they've reopened the case. It does happen.
Yeah. I mean, I would like to give some families peace.
I can't imagine. To me, that would just be the absolute worst.
Yeah. I mean, I know
if your child's missing for years.
So, yeah, I would like to look into some cold cases and see if anything can be done. I've talked to this community, and we have decided we would like to do that. So if you're interested, join us.
Okay. I agree with what Lane said.
She said, how had they not found her, his story would be he left her on the side of the road somewhere because she asked him. He ran because he saw the police was close to find her. Yeah. Yeah, and if that YouTuber couple had not gone by and decided they thought they wanted to stop and talk to him, but the van looked dark. And when you watch that video, and I think I pulled it up because of Popcorn Planet, they slowed it up, and you could see a little crack in the back of the van.
And for sure that van door closed.
Creepy. And they thought they were going to talk to him, but it looked all dark. Had their camera not caught that van on the side of the road, they probably would not have found her.
I don't think they would have, because she apparently was exposed to elements. So eventually animals would have carried things off, and it would have been highly unlikely. So that's why I say this seems like, I feel like God's acting on this case. Why? I don't know. I mean, why this case out of thousands that don't get solved? I don't know, but for some reason. And biblically, this is people, it's probably not something that my personal feeling is, I've heard people say, well, God, everyone's equal to God or whatever in God's eyes. And I don't know that that's really true, because when I look at the Bible, there's so many people that seem to get preferential treatment, in the Bible, including like Job. I think God says, look at Job, how amazing Job is and how faithful Job is. It's almost as like God is bragging on Job.
Look what Job had to go through. Give me a break.
Yeah. Well, yeah. I mean, because Satan said, well, you protect Job. And then, so that whole process took place. But my point being is that, sometimes there are favorites. Why? I don't know, but that's not really for me to know. And it just seems like, I feel like in this case, I feel like God's at work.
She had to lose her life, but Adam says we need to protect not just our young children, but our adult children, yes, as well, and be careful who you meet as far as dates and relationships. Adam also lost a child.
Oh, wow.
But yes, we have to be very, very careful, especially. I have a daughter, Eden. My son was Noah, if that tells you anything.
You're right. Yeah, great names.
My daughter's Eden Angelica, actually. But we have to be super careful, because you don't meet dates like you used to once upon a time. These days, people meet dates through apps online and things like that often.
Yeah, it is, and people often aren't what they seem, and you do have to use discernment. And if you ever feel a bad feeling about something, better safe than sorry. If you get a feeling, oh, maybe I shouldn't meet this person tonight, I'm not feeling like going, or just always trust your gut feeling.
That's what I say. Our head turns into a monkey mind because we think about a bazillion things, or we second guess our thoughts, and our heart sometimes gets us in trouble. But our gut, we get direct information often from a higher place. And it gives us a direct message and a direct feeling. And our gut rarely ever leads us astray. You know what I mean? And that's why
I think so too.
We always go, I should have trusted my gut.
Mm-hmm.
I had that gut feeling. It's for a reason.
And if you trust your gut and it seems like your gut didn't do you right, or it seems like, well, maybe you were paranoid about the situation or whatever, that's not always the case. And sometimes my mom used to say, she's gone now, but she used to say things like, if we would get lost, be going the wrong direction 20 minutes out of the way or something, she would say, well, that was for a reason. Maybe we avoided an accident or something like that. She always looked at the positive, and I think that there's some truth to that.
I mean, sometimes, you lose a job because a better one's coming, or something happens because another door's supposed to open.
Yeah, you don't you don't. It may look like something bad at the time, but it could be protecting you from something far worse.
Daniel says, rest in peace, Gabby Petito. I didn't even know she was sick. Daniel, did you know Gabby Petito? She wasn't sick. Her life was taken from her. It was a homicide. Did you happen to know her in person? It was a homicide. But anyway, yeah. And I feel like with Gabby, she probably stuck it out too long. She called off the engagement because she felt like it was too fast. She was following her gut there. And sometimes we can't figure out how to get out of relationships. She knew she wanted to take this journey, and he was probably dragging his feet, not wanting to. They said that she didn't film, I don't know if it was a week or 10 days. There was a period of time she didn't film at all. So there had to be something going on with them during that time. And her friend Rose said that there would be a lot of arguments or hostility that would go on. And she would tell Gabby to go into the deep with her and tell her, what's really going on. And Gabby wouldn't quite go there with her. So there was always kind of stuff happening. And it should have, split off a long time ago. And people need to learn the signs of what they're seeing with their friends when things aren't good. Gabby's friends back in New York already knew things weren't right.
That's a really good point, and I have personal experience with that. So, and you just made me see a new side to something. So what I used to tell people is my advice to them from personal experience. I said, listen, because I would never, in my relationships, if my girlfriends would do something bad to me, like cheat on me or something, I never told my mom, because I knew that if I decided to forgive them for what they had done, my mom never would.
Right.
So I've always told people, don't tell your friends, don't tell your parents the things that you're experiencing in your relationship if you plan to forgive this person, because they're not going to.
Right.
And if you want them to have a relationship with the person that you have a relationship with, you can't do that, because they won't forgive and they won't forget. And I used to think that, but you just made me see another side to that is, and the other side of that is, if you have to protect this person's your family's perception of this person, you don't need to be with them.
Right.
And because those people that I protected hurt me more the further the relationship went along. If I had just gotten out at that point where I thought, I can't tell my mom what she's done to me because my mom won't forget her. And I loved my mom dearly.
Yeah.
My best friend in life. And if I can't tell my mom about what this person's done, that should have been a wake-up call for me that this is not the person I need to be with.
Exactly. And I did that with my ex-husband, my son's birth father. I would try to protect because I wanted them to see him in a better light. I didn't, yeah. And I did it too long, and he got physical, and it got scary, and I should have just been straight up and got out a lot quicker. And it took my Noah to come into being for me to go, heck to the no. That's all it took.
Mm-hmm.
For me to finally get him to say, I'm not going to let my child experience this, period. And that made me brave. I was brave for him when I should have been brave for me to start with.
I think that's kind of human nature. We tend to not follow the advice that we would give other people, right? If we only follow the advice we'd give other people, I think we could do so much better in life. And that's a situation that's kind of an example of what you just said, because your advice to someone else would have been to get out of this. Your advice to your own child would have been get out of this and I'll help you get out of this.
Right.
But without those people around, you stayed in it. But once your child came into the picture and you wanted something better for your child than for yourself. And so you made the decision to move on.
Because, and I think this happens with a lot of people that have good hearts. You see the potential in the person. You see how they could be better. And you know how we talked about that sometimes people don't come from a good beginning, and this is how they were created to have that problem.
Mm-hmm.
Remember, we see how they had the bad beginning and how they could be healed in some way.
Well, yeah. So people like me and you are empaths.
Yes.
And it's pretty commonly known that empaths attract narcissists.
Bingo. Narcissists are often attracted to empaths, and they are attracted to the light. That's a problem.
Yes, it is.
And we have the instinct to want to bring healing to people. So we stick it out too long. But if someone else potentially could get hurt, then that's when we cut ties and go. So yeah. And I feel like Gabby, very much an empath, and has that light. And didn't know when to cut the cord. Didn't cut it fast enough. And that's what we were seeing when the cops came. That switch of gears. Let me see if I can see the behavior, and we'll watch it. Where she's saying she has anxiety and stuff.
This is hard for me to watch.
I won't bring it up then.
If no, you can. It's just the first couple of times it wasn't so hard, but also she was only missing it the first time I watched it. But the more I watch it, the more I see, because Brian did a really good job of covering up the reality of the situation.
I know.
That's why.
That's where you see the real narcissist in him. You know, see if I can find it. This was brought up on the news.
To say is nothing to the police, and that's
because
the defense attorney not speak to police. You know what people.
This is on a news channel that I saw.
he drove home without his girlfriend.
That's not one. Anyway, I couldn't find it.
Her parents. He.
Anyway, you guys have probably seen it enough. I won't bring it up. But yeah, she's crying, has anxiety, all of that other stuff. And he's just cool as a cucumber. Smiling.
Well, have you seen the video by Millie May where she compares Brian to one of the characters named Oyster, who is the main character in the book Lullaby that Brian was so fixated on?
No, I don't think I have.
I can send you the link in the private chat here, and so you can watch it another time, or if you want to play it on your show, that's fine.
I can play it, yeah.
Give me a moment to pull it up, but it's a fascinating video. Really gets your mind.
Is she on YouTube?
It's a YouTube video, yes.
And her name is what? Lily May?
I'm going to send you the link here. And
okay.
Millie May. That's not the name of the channel. Well, okay, so the channel that runs on YouTube is not the original. The person that did it was on Twitter, but then someone on YouTube combined all the Twitter videos into one video.
Gotcha.
It's a fascinating video. It gets you thinking. At first, if you haven't delved deep enough into Brian's Pinterest, his Spotify, his Instagram, and things like that, you might write it off. But if you've really looked at some of those other things, then you have to consider that this is a possibility.
Ian says, Adam just watched the neighbor's idea that they left on another camper after you return for 3 days.
I don't know too much about that. That's kind of a new developing story, I think maybe today. But apparently, this is what the neighbors, I saw an interview with the neighbors that talked about it. It looked like the Laundrie family purchased a new camper top that fits onto the bed of a pickup.
Mm-hmm.
And they did some work on it, and then they moved some things into it, and then they were gone for like 3 days around the time that Brian went missing. And I think that's what Adam or whoever it was in the comments was referring to. So it appears almost as if they were helping Brian to get away. Or they could have just gone camping to decompress too. That's another possibility.
Adam says, my mom was in a pretty bad marriage with my dad. She had a lot of domestic violence happen to her, and when I was little and growing up, I did my best to protect her. I'm sorry, Adam. It's rough when the kids end up in a position of feeling like they have to protect their parents.
Yeah, and I'm sorry too, Adam. That's what I was saying, that how can you feel safe in an environment where you feel like your parents are supposed to be your security, right? They're your safe place. And if you feel like you're having to protect them, then you're obviously not feeling safe yourself.
I mean, it's amazing, how much everybody, to some degree, has had to go through, different things in their life. And you may have a good childhood, you may not have a good childhood, but at some point, we're going to experience some kind of trauma.
Yes.
And explain some clues that I think might help.
Okay. Hopefully Millie May will not strike me. I will start and stop as I share, and we'll talk about Millie May's.
No, she says in her video that she's not doing this for any type of fame or credit. She's just trying to help. So I'm sure she wants it out there.
Okay. Can you see it, everybody? If I start and stop, she probably won't care.
Solve the case and hopefully discover her alive. Okay, first of all, Gabby Petito is only 22 years old and she's already engaged.
What?
To this guy, Brian Laundrie. He is 23. She has recently quit her job, which is kind of strange because it was going fine. And the two of them decided that they were going to go on a cross-country road trip together. A few months back, he posted this on his Instagram story. Look at the book. This is another picture he posted on his Instagram feed. It is still public. Same book, different cover. And here he made a bunch of drawings in reference to this book.
Oh, yeah.
Here's another cover of the book.
Did you guys notice all the little princesses? Let me go back a little bit.
I want to say something too before you play it.
Okay.
Say what you're going to say, and then I'll. Okay.
He
Notice
crosses the mouths out on all the little princesses.
And there's blood squirting out, but that might have been something from the. So supposedly that princess is from the novel, and the novel's about a lullaby. The synopsis. She didn't say this. So I'll just tell you real quickly. The synopsis of this book, Lullaby, is that there was a person. I think he was like a news reporter or something, and he was doing stories on stillbirth deaths. And what he came to find out is all these deaths that he was following had to do with this lullaby that was being read to them. So it was almost like it was a curse. And then so he came to find out that when he would read that lullaby to people, that they would die. Now I didn't read the book myself, so I don't know exactly how that all took place. And then so eventually he used it as like a murder weapon, and people that he didn't like, he would read the lullaby to, and then things would happen to them. That's about as much as I know about the book. I don't know how accurate that is, but it's kind of a serial killer book. And so the princess may be a character from in the actual lullaby that gets read. I'm not sure. But what I want to point out about this, if you look at the top of this, on several of his artwork, apparently he had a business where he would sell his art.
Yeah.
And his business cards there at the top. It's kind of hard to see here, but I zoomed in on his Instagram and I looked at that business card. And what it actually is, it's an ice cream bar or a popsicle, and it's melting, and there's a bite out of it. And what would be the popsicle stick is actually a knife handle, and there's a knife inside the popsicle, so that once you bit into it, you'd bite into the knife. And I just think that's a really kind of dark thing to have as a business card.
Yeah. That is creepy.
And by the way, go ahead. I'm sorry.
I did see this earlier, and when I watched it, it kind of bothered me that all the princesses, he took a magic marker and just went across their mouths like they were gagged. And yeah, I did see that squirt of blood.
Well, he makes a comment in another one of his drawings. He goes, I just need to add some chainsaws and some blood and gore to some other drawings that he had. There's a lot of darkness on his Pinterest and here in his art. But I need to run a quick errand. I will come back. And I'll rejoin you when I get back.
Okay. I'll continue to play.
Okay.
And here he made a bunch of drawings in reference to this book. Here's another cover of the book. Okay, so this guy Brian seems to be a really huge fan of the book. I'm going to explain what it's about and why I think that this might be relevant. Okay, after looking up and purchasing the book, for a quick summary, basically it's about this group of people that go on a road trip across the country, and they're trying to find this book that basically is like the Death Note kind of thing, where if you read the rhyme that's contained in the book, people will die. Two of the characters on this trip are named Mona and her boyfriend, Oyster. I think Brian Laundrie was trying to replicate this story in some way, and I think that he might have believed he was Oyster. Hear me out. Oyster is described as a nihilistic environmentalist. Keep this in mind. Also, at one point, you can see it says way at the bottom that at one point in the book, the group abandons Oyster on the side of the highway. Okay, this is important. I downloaded the book, and it says in the description of Oyster that his face and hands are smeared with blood, the devil's face, and he has a red goatee, okay, because it's covered in blood. Brian also has a goatee. This could have been intentional. This could just be a coincidence. Here's a more clear image. I think that's a goatee. I literally read the entire book in one night, and some other things about Oyster is that he doesn't wear shoes. This is another important thing to keep in mind. He is noted to have calluses on the bottom of his feet that...
Oh, listen. He does not wear shoes when he climbs all of those rocks. He never wears shoes. That's a really big thing with him. And he always brags. Well, she brags about it, and when the mom or whoever was writing it was posing as Gabby on Instagram, that was one of the things that was being bragged about, that he would climb the rocks and the gorges or whatever and would never wear shoes. I didn't notice all of that when I watched this earlier. Creepy. Let's continue. Oh, by the way, I am crediting Speak Life Garden Homestead and Permaculture. This is Millie May.
That are cracked and dirty. Okay, he has dirty feet, he doesn't wear shoes. Also, on this road trip, they drive through Colorado, Kansas, and Missouri, all states that Brian and Gabby drove through on their road trip. Okay, also, there are mentions of domestic disturbance calls to the police in the book. Might just be another coincidence. Watch part 2. This is all going to make sense really soon. Okay, something is very fishy about this Gabby Petito. The oyster character in the book does not wear shoes. He has dirty feet. He refuses to eat out of plastic containers, and he doesn't eat meat. He preaches about veganism. He goes on these rants about how people don't deserve to be on the earth, and how he would be willing to off himself and his girlfriend if it meant bringing about a better place for, like, the environment, if that makes any sense. Okay. Here is the passage in which he gets locked out of the car because he assaults someone. Strange. And here's where he says, these are like his final words as he's getting locked out. He says, "You can forget me, but that doesn't mean I don't still exist. For whatever reason, the first gypsy moth that flew out a window in Medford, Massachusetts comes to mind. Keep in mind this moth." Basically, because of the way that the book is written, the characters are able to pass in and out of each other's bodies. So at the end of the book, Mona and Oyster, the boyfriend and girlfriend who went on this cross-country road trip together, both end up missing. Neither of them are killed. They are both missing, and that's how the book ends. This is literally the last page of the book, or second to last page, and it says, "To find Mona and Oyster, you only have to look for the Fantastic for Miracles, the amazing tabloid headlines." There are headlines about Gabby and Brian right now in the tabloids. "The young couple seen crossing Lake Michigan on foot in July. Their trip took place between June and August, which includes July." Very strange, okay? Now I'm going to try and make some connections. Here's Brian's Instagram page back a year ago in 2020. All of his captions were pretty average, short, normal Instagram captions. There's another one, and this is when he first moves into the van with his girlfriend, okay? 1 year ago. As they take this cross-country trip, his Instagram captions start getting longer and kind of stranger. They are all about nature and using different wording than he previously did.
I just want to make sure you all can hear this, right? I did not listen to all of this, and this is creepy. I am wondering if the cops or anybody have heard this. I have not seen this on any of the reports. I wonder if they have poo-pooed it, because this is way too creepy. Okay, let me continue it.
Here he says, "Beautiful park with an unfortunate infestation of human beings." This is very similar to something Oyster would have said in Lullaby. This entire caption is about avoiding plastic containers and plastic waste. This is his last Instagram post before he vanished and his girlfriend went missing. It's all about how humans basically don't deserve to be on this earth. Okay, I know I sound like a crazy conspiracy theorist right now, but this is all going to tie together. Watch part 3, and I'm showing you the body cam footage where this starts to get really weird. Looking for freaking ever. I'm just trying to be thorough because I don't want anything to go unnoticed. Okay, now I'm going to play the body cam footage. Also, ignore my hair. I have a hair mask in, please. But, in the footage, there's just so many points in which his characteristics line up with Oyster, like, in such peculiar ways that I just cannot explain it. In this first clip, they have just run out of water, Brian and Gabby. They're in the middle of a desert. It's 100+ degrees out, and they are being questioned by the police. So I don't know why he would turn down water, but he states that it's because he doesn't like plastic containers, just like Oyster. Like, I don't care how much you don't like plastic. If you're in the desert in 100+ degrees, you're probably going to accept a water.
It's okay. It's hot out. I was going to get water because it ran out, but it's okay. No, it's right. I don't like plastic bottles.
Okay, could just really be into saving the planet, I guess. But here's another strange coincidence. Just like Oyster was abandoned and left by the group on this road trip, Brian states in the footage that his big fear is that Gabby's going to go off and take the van and leave him on the side of the road, basically, just like Oyster.
I was holding on to the keys because I didn't want to go anywhere. And my big fear is, I don't have my phone. I don't have my phone. So she goes off without me. All right. I'm on my own.
Also, very strange that he's laughing and smiling throughout this whole incident while his girlfriend is literally hysterical. Now, this is the weirdest part. I noted that Oyster had dirty feet, like it specifically says that, and that he walks around barefoot everywhere. Gabby posted this on July 30th. Brian hikes barefoot everywhere we go. If it were up to him, he wouldn't own any shoes. In fact, when the police are called, because of this whole domestic violence incident, Brian claims that the entire disagreement stemmed from the fact that he had dirty feet.
It was, I wouldn't even call it disagreement. It was just that I'm dirty and I can't change being dirty like I got dirty feet.
Okay, I'm sorry this is taking for freaking ever. I'm just trying to be thorough because I don't want anything to go unnoticed. Okay, now I'm gonna play the body cam footage. Also, ignore my hair. I have a hair mask in, please. But in the footage, there's just so many points in which his characteristics line up with Oyster, like in such peculiar ways that
I'm just checking in on everybody while we play this. Can you hear it? Is it making any sense to you? Yes, Adam, I'm so sorry to hear about everything that you have had to go through. I cannot imagine. And you are still so loving and kind, and you come in here. Yes, it is getting very creepy. I had no idea. I feel like Wade just opened us up to wild secrets. Are you bored? Do you want to hear more of it? I had no idea. Hey, Nikki. Okay, I'm popping it back on.
cannot explain it. In this first clip, they have just run out of water, Brian and Gabby.
Uh-oh. Why can't I hear it?
Okay, but remember this passage that mentions the moth after Oyster is abandoned? This is Gabby's last post, and this was actually posted the day she disappeared. A lot of people have been pointing out that her hair is freshly highlighted, and it looks like it's taken place in October or around Halloween, and we're in August, so that's kind of weird. Look at the caption. What is that moth emoji doing there? Literally, what? These are some of the comments under this post. One person pointed out her hair looking freshly dyed, which doesn't make sense because it doesn't really line up with the timeline of events. Another one where someone says it's weird to post Happy Halloween in August, and she didn't use that emoji ever, so it's just kind of like another person pointing out. Anyone bothered by the fly? It's not a fly. It's literally a moth emoji. Again, at the end of Lullaby, both Oyster and Mona are nowhere to be seen and essentially missing. I find it very strange that Brian has also not been seen since Tuesday. His Pinterest page also has some questionable albums. What do you guys think? Am I onto something? Is she out there? Are they both on the run? Did he abandon her just like Oyster? There's so many things that are possible. I just hope that she's found alive, and I hope he's not the crazy psycho that I have a gut feeling he is. Okay, this is definitely good. Again, I could be onto absolutely nothing, but I really just want to find her. I do know that there was a body found near the area where they were camping, and right now the police are trying to figure out, who the body is. After going through Brian's page and considering all of these books that he's been reading and posting about and pinning, I think it's pretty safe to say that he was going through some dark mental issues. All of the books that I mentioned in the last part are very depressing. Most of them are horror books. A lot of them are very serious and deal with mental illness or deal with loss of control or loss of sanity. These are all things that he has pinned. Very depressing.
Whoa.
Kind of scary, just like strange posts. This right here, red flag. This is like how a manipulative boyfriend texts. Again, this shows me mental illness, depression, struggling. Here it says, you do it to yourself, and that's what really hurts. Right below it, I'm going to talk about that in a second. Alright, he has another picture with this. It is never a good idea to do psychedelics when you are in a negative state of mind. Especially dealing with depression and mental illness. I don't think it's a coincidence that he's posting about this and about to take a long road trip where they will be in the woods, isolated, away from people. They're young, they're in love, and on their own. What do you guys think? Do you think this was involved?
Holy cow.
An accident could have happened. Could have been intentional. This could have been planned. He could have been losing it from using this while reading dark books. Who knows? Again, I could be on. Sent me this in my Instagram DMs. This was posted to Gabby's Pinterest board. Okay, this is the novel Zodiac. There's also a movie if any of you guys want to watch it. If you don't like reading, but basically this is about a serial killer who is going around California killing young women and couples. And what is interesting about this serial killer is that he leaves notes, and he leaves clues behind as to why he did it and basically how he thinks he can get away with all of this. What the person pointed out who DM'd this to me was that right in this paragraph, the killer in the book is using custom cut paper stock. Okay, so this is like not your ordinary paper. It is also monarch size. That could just be a total coincidence, but Gabby's last Instagram photo was taken in front of a monarch mural. Brian also happens to have pinned DIY floral paper and a fabric moth craft kit thing. Might just be coincidences, but this is very weird with the fact that she was reading a passage about custom cut paper that a serial killer was using. Here we go again. How to make your own handmade paper. Kind of weird. He also pinned these 3 images of pumpkins. And again, the last post that Gabby made, she was holding a little pumpkin. And the caption was Happy Halloween. Lullaby also isn't the only book that is featured on their pages. It is the book that is featured the most, but there are a lot of other books by the same author, such as Fight Club. In this image, Gabby is reading Fight Club and Brian is reading The Revenant, which is another book about very dark themes, and identity crisis, revenge, violence, death. Another picture, Gabby is reading Fight Club. Another image where Lullaby is shown. She also posted this to her story while they were on the road. It's pretty hard to see what he's reading in this one, but thanks to the internet, people were able to figure out that it is Annihilation. This image right here that he made a stamp of is a reference to the book Invisible Monsters, also by the same author of Lullaby and Fight Club. He also saved 3 pins about the Invisible Man, as well as multiple pins about the Joker movie. In the next part, I'm going to discuss how this all might be related. Okay, someone just sent me this in my Instagram DMs. This was posted.
I want to know if you are all still freaked out.
As of 25 minutes ago, Gabby has been found. She's not alive. I really have no words. This is the ending that I did not think or did not hope would come true. Rest in peace to Gabby, and I didn't know her, but nobody deserves this. Nobody deserves to die at such a young age and to be found all alone in the middle of the woods. So my heart goes out to her family, and right now I think that the best thing that everyone can do is help to give information to the police to find Brian, because he is still nowhere to be seen. He is still unwilling to cooperate with the police, and I think that he holds the answers to getting some closure for Gabby's family and for Gabby herself, because she does not deserve to go out without her story being told. So thank you to everyone I don't need followers from this. I don't want clout. I just want justice, and we have not gotten enough justice for anything that's been going on in social media and society this year. So yeah, let's find Brian. Please replace my faith in humanity. As of 25.
Oh my Lord. Wade, I'm totally creeped out.
Let me add another thing to this. So she mentioned that the character liked to leave kind of clues or kind of like coded hints.
Mm-hmm.
The very last message, and I can't take credit for this. This was the woman on YouTube that has the show called It's a Crime or something like that.
Yeah.
She's the one that figured this out. So the last text that was sent from Gabby's phone said no service in Yosemite. Well, Yosemite's in California. They were in Wyoming. Yeah. So I first thought, well, whoever sent that meant to say Yellowstone. And if it was him, he was probably in a manic state, probably had very high anxiety, and just did it out of confusion. Now I'm starting to wonder if it was intentional. Have you ever Googled, or do you know what the word Yosemite actually means?
No.
Google it real quick, because I think it might surprise you. And remember, this is the very last text that came from Gabby's phone. It said no service in Yosemite, but they weren't in Yosemite, they were in Yellowstone.
Those who kill.
Those who kill.
Whoa.
There's a lot more symbolism I could go into too that may or may not mean anything, but
and it makes you think, if your kids or anybody send you odd messages that don't quite make sense, that you need to really look deep into what they sent you and look for other meanings. And not just brush it off.
Well, the mother thinks that Brian sent that text. She doesn't think that was her daughter.
I mean, it's possible. Yeah, if he's reading lullaby and stuff, it makes sense, though. So creepy. I mean, I didn't realize he was reading all of those kind of books. All it mentioned was Fight Club. Really? I mean, I did hear about lullaby in passing. But
even Fight Club's a dark book. The movie's not as dark as the book.
And I didn't realize he was taking drugs. What was the drug she said he was taking on that stamp?
Well, I don't know, because I've never honestly taken a drug in my life, but was it LSD or something? I'm not sure. Something sort of psychedelic.
Like yeah, psychedelic. I mean, that's enough right there to make you, wow.
Also, I don't know if you're aware of this already, but I just sent you the link to an article that if you're not already familiar with it, or if your audience is not, you might want to take a look at that. So this article is an interview of apparently Gabby's probably best friend at the time.
Rose?
Yes, okay. Rose. There's a little video clip that's been going around of two women, of Abby dancing with another girl, and that's Rose. But Rose states that Brian, on multiple occasions, heard voices and had difficulty sleeping.
I'll go ahead and read it. Gabby Petito's boyfriend, Brian Laundrie, who has also gone missing and is being sought by the FBI, suffered with jealousy and control issues and experienced episodes in which he would hear voices and not be able to sleep, Petito's friend told the Daily Mail. Rose Davis, 21, of Sarasota, described Laundrie as controlling and manipulative boyfriend. In one incident, stealing Petito's ID so she wouldn't be able to go to bars with her. Petito had described the strange episodes to Davis, which at times forced Petito to sleep at her house. He got these jealousy issues, and he struggles from what Gabby called these episodes, where he would hear things and hear voices and wouldn't sleep, she told the outlet. Gabby had to stay at my house a bunch of times because she needed a breather and didn't want to go home to him. Davis said she used to consider Laundrie a friend after spending time with the couple. She said she believes she was one of Petito's only friends in Florida after she relocated there from Long Island, and believed Laundrie was jealous of their relationship and taking her away from him. She said the two friends would share locations on their iPhones to keep each other safe in case we got lost. But Laundrie made Petito stop sharing once he found out. Butthead. He had this composure as a sweet, nice, caring guy, but you could tell he's a little off, a little weird. Like he'd set up our hammocks when we'd go to the beach, but he wouldn't sit with us, which I found bizarre, she told the Daily Mail. Brian has a jealousy issue, Davis said. I'm her only friend in Florida to my knowledge. That's not because she can't make friends. He just didn't want her to have friends. He was always worried she was going to leave him. See, that's what I was saying before. It was a constant thing to try to get us to stop hanging out. Davis told the Daily Mail that she last spoken to Petito in early August when they discussed meeting up in Yellowstone National Park. And that was on her birthday, August 29th. But they didn't get to meet. but she never heard back from Petito. She said the couple never fought in front of her, but she believes she could tell when they had just had an argument. She said that in the first year of knowing her, Petito spent between 7 and 10 nights at her house after they had fought. I do believe their relationship, as they kept going on, was getting more problematic. It just seemed like there was more and more arguments. They had still planned on getting married despite Petito telling her mother it was called off. She said she had her anxiety act up, and she was aware Petito suffered from anxiety. And she was a little upset she didn't call her after that night. Anyway, I wanted to stand outside his house and beg him to tell me where he last saw her, but I know he won't tell her, and I can't force him to talk to me. Anyway, that's pretty much where it ends. But apparently he has had these issues for a while. What a hot mess. I wonder if she ever used LSD.
If he was doing it, I'm gonna say she did it, because she seemed like she was. Are you able to hear me, by the way?
Yeah.
Okay. It looks like I'm lagging on my end, but if you look at the Instagram, anytime he would do posts, even if they were very dark, what I would consider very dark anyway,
Yeah.
she would put a heart on them, right?
Yeah.
So she was very well aware of this side of him, and she was in support of it on some level.
Well, too, on Instagram, you're always trying to make it look better than it is. She was trying to be an influencer.
Right.
And her dad called her like a happy hippie.
But also you see that in her Instagram post and she's reading the same books that he's always cherished, that he's coveted. And she's reading them. I suspect that she's reading them because he said, hey, you need to read this. This is a great book. And some women do that. I had a girlfriend like that. I really loved her because I'd never had a girlfriend like that. Was so supportive. Anything I was interested in, she would want to know. And then she'd be, oh, I want to read that. I thought, this is kind of cool. Wow, she's really expressing interest in the things I'm interested in. I'm not used to that. And I kind of perceived that she had that personality also, that just, again, I can only go by what they've shared with us, like you said.
Yeah, but you can't, I understand what you're saying, but you can't always go by what you see. Because couples want to make it seem like they're often more bonded than they are. I mean, like, with my husband, I might check out what he's reading and not read the book. You know what I'm saying? Kind of look it over, show a little interest, but it might not be my thing, but I want to see what he's reading. And he'll do it with mine too, but he might do that, and she might not do it because she wants to be more spiritually open. We just don't know. I'm not saying she didn't, but I'm not saying we can't for sure. Who knows?
Yeah, I would agree.
Who knows, right? He seems more like he wants to go deeper and darker. So it's just, we'll know when they expose what they found. When they do the autopsy reports.
There's going to be some things that the investigators will never know, and there's going to be a lot of things that they do know that they'll never share, unfortunately.
Right. Yeah. But I wonder if the cops know what Millie may expose. Because that's not conspiracy. There's too much that's right on the nose.
Well, there's a lot more, like I said, that she's not even aware of things that I've discovered or that I've seen other people discover too.
It's like,
There's too much. If you put all the little pieces together, it's too much. It's way too much to ignore.
I mean, it's like he's trying to replicate it in his life.
Well, the thing is, I don't want. I just want to be careful what I say because I just say I want us to say if, right? This is a
Yeah.
scenario, if scenario.
Let's
I'm not
say
saying that this.
allegedly.
Yeah, if he was on the spectrum of, say, sociopath or something like that,
It
those
can even be a spectrum, a weird spectrum of autism even.
well,
know that.
he says in one of his own posts, he talks about autism a couple of times.
Yeah.
So he may have been on the spectrum of autism. But so sociopaths, I guess I don't know enough about to say all sociopaths, but there are some sociopaths that had very difficult time with social interaction, and they don't really know how to build relationships or how to form those relationships, and sometimes they don't even know who they are or how to act.
Yeah.
And in fact, I have a good friend of mine that has, I don't know if I'm saying it correctly, but Asperger's.
Yeah. I'm well aware
He
of all
told me
these.
he told me himself that when he grew up, because I told him, I said, you seem fine to me. I enjoy hanging out with them. We have good conversations. He said he had no clue growing up how to interact with people. He said he had to learned behavior. And he's telling me himself, he goes, my behaviors are learned behaviors. I learned how I need to act, what I need to say in order to fit into social situations. He said, without this, he goes, I had to work very hard all my life to figure out how to do this. And so there are some people where that's the case. They don't know how to act. So all their behaviors are learned by observing. And then some people, some sociopaths do this intentionally. This becomes a manipulative tool for them. Once they learn that this is something that they can use, and it's going to change from scenario to scenario. They're going to be a completely different person around one person as another person. And and I've just recently learned this, but it's called mirroring, right? They mirror the person that they want to have a relationship with.
Yeah.
And so if that is the case, it might make sense to find your personality in something that you admire, whether it be an actor, whether it be an author, whether it be a character in a book, whether it be someone you know personally. And so it wouldn't be out of the realm of possibility that he decided to apply, especially if someone like that who had an identity crisis or a difficulty with their own identity, if they found themselves attracted to a certain person and they would develop a relationship with that person, the first thing they would want to do is say, well, who would that person like? What kind of person would that person like? And if I don't know when they met or how she was when they met, but she apparently is into nature. She worked at an organic juice bar. She was a nutritionist. So the character from this book seemed like someone that she might be interested in, somebody who doesn't like plastic, someone who goes barefooted, someone who is out in nature, someone, on all these things. Or Brian could have just been like that person all along. It might not be something that, we just don't know, and we probably will never know, but it's interesting to think about. Yeah.
But I mean, when she started reading all of that off, I thought, whoa, he's tried to morph into the character in the book, to become the book, to live out the book for all intents and purposes.
There are definitely some interesting coincidences that make you wonder if that's the case.
I mean, he could get so immersed in the book that he has manifested it in some ways. But I mean, it was really mind-blowing. We were all going, whoa, that's creepy. And I was like, is this boring you? And they were like, no, we want to hear it.
Right. Yeah, I've seen a lot of videos on this case and other cases, and that's been one of the most captivating ones for me, where I was like, yeah, I'm going to watch all of this one.
You just wonder, have the cops heard this?
Well, I hope so, because the character, I don't know if it's in Lullaby or the character in one of the books that he was reading. I don't know if it was the Zodiac or which one. I don't remember, but that character intentionally left clues, which is not uncommon for serial killers or these type of people to leave clues intentionally. And they kind of want to create a puzzle that can be solved. And so if Brian is guilty of something, and if he is leaving clues, then the FBI should be aware of this and need to understand that they might find the answers they're looking for in some of these books, in some of these characters he's fascinated with. Because if the character, for instance, in one of the books runs off to Mexico, hey, you might want to check the Mexican border, right?
Yeah.
Or so, yeah, you don't know where that's going to lead.
Sometimes it's harder to get in Mexico than it is for them to come in the United States. It's stricter to get into Mexico sometimes than it is the other way around.
No matter where he goes, it's going to be very difficult for him. I can't imagine that he ever thought that this case would get this kind of exposure.
But on that note, I guess it's like 10:15. I guess I better start wrapping up. This is what I can say. I know, on good faith, a criminal got away years ago, and
I'll drop off and let you talk. By the way, thanks for having me on. Okay.
Wait. Before you go, a group of people needed this criminal found, and they in a neighborhood. And they all put their prayers and their minds and their thoughts and their energy together and decided in their mind's eye and their thoughts and their prayers and their whatever to all concentrate on that person that needed to be found. Right? Mm-hmm. To really concentrate and pray about it or whatever and put their energy on that person to be found. Everybody's scattered about it and just watching the TV instead of putting their thoughts on this person to be found. And I'm asking everybody to pray for Gabby's family, first and foremost, and surround them with love and light and prayer, first and foremost. And secondly, to put the light on top of Brian for him to be found. For him to be found. And otherwise, I'm sending love and light and healing and gratitude to all of you for being here. You know that I love and appreciate you all. And Wade, it has been a delight for you to be here. I have enjoyed getting to know you, and it's been wonderful to have this intelligent conversation back and forth, psychologically, spiritually, and really diving into this case with you.
Well, thank you. I've enjoyed your presence also, and I've also appreciated the people in the comments.
Oh, everybody here, great people. I love everybody here. They're just, really, really good humans. I can't say any more about it.
I agree with you, too, what you're saying. I think we often don't have confidence or don't understand and appreciate the power of prayer, especially if we can all put our energy into that. So I'm with you on what you were saying.
Oh, if we focus on the actual energy that we were given, we can do wonders with it. I did my thesis at university in the difference prayer makes in the healing of people. I actually did my thesis on it. Well, so it makes a difference.
Maybe, I don't know if you're comfortable with it now or maybe another time, but I would be totally, I would appreciate actually if you or someone like you on their streams would lead people in prayer, just have a prayer.
Oh, yeah, we could do that. I don't know that people in my chat would be offended by that. We could take a vote. How many people in chat would be offended if we did a prayer here every once in a while? It doesn't have to be a formal prayer. We're hoping to get a community page soon. Once I hit 500 subscribers, I think YouTube lowered the number. Used to have to be 1,000. We get a community page where we can communicate better. CC Cruz said, never offended by a prayer. Sometimes we even do live healing on here. Are you offended by that, Wade?
No, I'm very open-minded. I don't really get offended by things.
Good. But anyway, I'm going to go ahead and drop you. But are you on Instagram, Wade?
No, I don't. I don't really do social media.
Well, see, I can never find you then. Then come back, okay?
I will.
Subscribe and
Thanks,
come
sir.
back.
I will subscribe. I'll have to get off here and get back on through YouTube. But thank you, everyone. Thanks for having me on.
It was a pleasure. Thank you.
Bye.
Bye. Anyway, I have loved having you all on here. We could talk about this forever because we're down a rabbit hole right now. But yeah, let's focus our energy and like shine a light on Wade to be found. You know what I mean? He needs to be found. And definitely, please, let's pray and surround Gabby's family with love and light and prayer, because we know that they are feeling a pain like no other. And it just hurts. And we can surround Gabby with our love and prayers too, because we know her soul was taken out far too early. But anyway, we may can have a part 2 of this if you want as a follow-up. Thank you so much, Ian. There's just so much. This is just unbelievable. I think that we should start doing cases. What do you think? I think we should start doing cases. I would really like to do some cases if we could bring it home to parents or families if they weren't solved. Yeah, more stuff needs to come out soon. This is crazy. This is definitely crazy. I love you all so very much. I appreciate your support. I appreciate you being part of this community. You mean more to me than I can even express. You truly, truly do. Remember, your vibe attracts your tribe. And we can see here that it actually does. Let's just keep on this. If we find pieces and parts that can help solve this, it would be awesome. And if you're out in this world and we see cases that we can help with, let's bring it in here and work on it. Okay? We can make a difference. I know that we can. I love you all. I will see you on Saturday night, if not sooner. I may be dropping in things here and there. But anyway, have a wonderful rest of your week. Thank you for being here tonight. Please like, subscribe, and share. And thank you, Wade, for coming on tonight. It was wonderful to meet you. And everybody that was new as well. Take care, everybody. And I will see you next time. And we are out. Bye. Thank you for coming to Dear Dana. Whoop.